So you leave for Europe next week. 6 weeks.
Very close. 6 weeks, yep. 6 there, 5 back, 6 back.
Lots of racing. Another week of the wheelhouse. It's been such a massive week in cycling. Catherine Bates joined by the one and only Henk Vogels. Henk, you must have pretty much spent the week packing bikes if you're heading to Europe with the team next week.
I did. Literally just packing the last week.
How many?
5 spare bikes and about 15 pairs of wheels.
Wow. Okay. So how do you pack a bike for Europe these days? Because I used to travel with those big Qantas boxes, you know, the big cardboard ones.
Yep.
Is that still the go?
No.
Something a bit fancier these days?
Oh, I've actually sold a fair few of the ex-team bikes lately and have been sending in cardboard boxes. But we travel with the Enviro box. So
cool.
They're, so some Velcro straps and some recycled plastic and it's really quite strong. So we send everything in that. So because you can pack them down flat. You don't have to have boxes everywhere, so they can literally go on the floor of the van and that's handy. You just build them the next week.
My biggest memory of packing bikes was the anxiety that came with arriving somewhere and your rear dropout would be bent, twisted, broken, and back then that meant the frame was completely written off.
Oh yeah, you had to know a good welder.
Yeah, which I don't have extensive welding contacts
welding knowledge
in Europe. No, but they're removable now. So, But do you take them off or do you just travel with a ton of spare dropouts?
Oh, some people take them off, but we have heaps of spare dropouts from Factor because if they do break and crashes and stuff like that, so you can just screw another one in with a 2mm Allen key. So which is much better. So yeah, that's been my life the last week or so.
Well, we've got lots to talk about this week. We're going to head over on the jet to Italy because, of course, Milan San Remo was won. A world champion beat a former world champion in the women's at Binda. Lance Armstrong, he's mouthing off again. Laura Kenny, we're going to farewell to her, the most successful female British Olympian ever. And a little bit out of left field, Sonny Colbrelli, he saved the day, saved a few bikes. So we'll delve into that. At the end of last week's show, Henk, I was wishing my niece good luck at the Australian Mountain Bike Championships. And I want to tell a little story. Now, she was in the under-13s and it was her first time racing at anywhere, like not just at nationals, anywhere, first race. She didn't love the course. She had a stack out on course. She came through after a lap and was very teary and didn't want to continue. And my sister said they had so much support, like the other girls were cheering her on, parents. And she said it was so beautiful. And when she did finish at the end, all of the girls who had finished in front of her went and gave her hugs and high fives. And it was just this beautiful moment.
Oh, it's great to see.
It really is. Like, it was such a wonderful story. But what was also really interesting is, so Nat was there and she saw some of her professional teammates of the past. Josie Lone had 3 boys competing. One of them won. Liz Tadej, well now Liz Taylor, but formerly Liz Tadej. Her daughter, Ruby, she won as well. And Alison, formerly Alison Wright, now Alison McGovern, she had her boys there competing as well. So it's like...
You feeling old yet?
Well, it's...
when your kids are racing?
But it's the first time that Australian cycling has seen the former female professionals' kids coming through. So it's really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
So we don't often talk about a lot of mountain bike, but I just wanted to say, like, I've just heard the most wonderful things about this event and the community. And the Oceanas are heading to Brisbane next week as part of the Brisbane Cycling Festival. It's really cool. It makes me want to take the kids out and have a go.
None of my kids have ever got into bike riding at all. I've got 4, and my youngest one just got a mountain bike, and he is tragic. Now he's tragic into mountain bikes. So
tragic into it or tragic on it?
Oh well, he's just started, but he's actually pretty good, if I don't mind saying so myself. So he's got his first mountain bike, proper bike, and he's taking videos of himself doing jumps and stuff. So you never know.
Peter Sagan likes the mountain bike.
He does. That's
Hello,
right.
Henk.
Hi, Maxie, here alive.
Oh my gosh.
Where are you? Can't see you.
It's bingo, Peter Sagan. Well, I've got his book in my hand here, but last time you were on the show, Merksy was sad because Peter Sagan had a heart operation.
Well, guess what?
He had another one, didn't
Another
he?
one.
Another one.
What's going on, Merksy? Have you been in touch with him?
He'll be all right. We're arranging flowers, but he'll be fine. He'll be back. He called it his heart's having a pit stop.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Has he got an Apple iWatch Ultra so it can you know those things you can check for atrial fibrillation and everything else?
Yeah, he had a device implanted a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, pacemaker.
So
Interesting.
He's that old, he needs a
wishing him
pacemaker.
well. Wishing him well.
Not hanging shit on him.
maybe just a little.
Just a little bit.
Now, let's talk about another legend, or a legend in the making, perhaps. Overnight, we saw arguably one of the best victories from an Aussie we've seen in a long time, Nick Shultz.
Oh, what a legend.
He won at the Tour of Catalunya, stage 1. Who did he beat, Henk?
The Pog.
The Pog. He beat the Pog. A late attack. Late attack's my favourite. About 1.8k to go. How good. Like, what an incredible victory.
I don't think people understand how hard it is to jump away from a bunch in a final after you've done, just say, I don't know how many Ks it was, say 180 and rolling hard terrain, and then you just take off from the world's best bike rider in the last, everyone's got the adrenaline's up, you're coming into the final, and he's whacking them with 1.5k to go and holding them off. The power you got to have and the cojones to hold them off is pretty amazing. And you know what, Kate, I think I wouldn't say he's flown under the radar, but he's always been that opportunist, that Simon Clark-like rider who finds the moves, always in those days when you know the break's going to win. He's always there, and he always seems to get a result in the years that he's been with Green Edge, in the Green Edge team. But I think it's been a great move for him going over to Israel, because seems as though he's getting a few more opportunities already.
I love it. Well, I want to ask you, what's going on over at Israel Premier Tech? Because we saw at the Tour Down Under, Stevie Williams just burst onto the scene. He rode amazingly, the Brit. He got third on the stage. Shultz first, Pogacar, a little sandwich in between the Israel Premier Tech fellas, Stevie third. I feel like the tide has really ridden and the whole boat is rising with it. There's been a few changes with directors.
Yep. I think it's got a lot to do mindset. I think also when a team's struggling to stay in the World Tour, they're chasing points, it's just a recipe for disaster. That's like, you have to win. It's not like this is how we go through a process and we're going to win and we're going to have fun and da-da-da. Everyone's worried about their World Tour like place, and you contract, and we need to get points, and I think with Daryl Impey and Sam Bewley, I've been listening to Sam a bit. He's got his own podcast, and he seems like a pretty open-minded fella, and he gets on well. And I think the directors that have actually just come out of being a professional cyclist have really got their radar on a little bit more, and they understand the riders a little bit more, what they're going through, as opposed to, say, a Mauro Gianetti who used to race with me, and we're talking 20 plus years ago now. So, they've got their finger on the pulse. And I think it's always when you bring a fresh person in management, they have a great new take on how things should be. So, but I mean, it's not just they won yesterday, but they're winning in Taiwan. They won 3 or 4 stages in the overall there. So they're off to a good start. They're off to a really good start for this year, because you would have to say they've been one of the poorest results around. They spent an incredible amount of money on Chris Froome, and maybe 3 years ago he was worth that, but he certainly isn't right now. And maybe they're concentrating on other goals.
Well, he's got a busted scaphoid, so he's a little bit out of action again.
Again. He's like a China plate, isn't he? He just, when you drop him on the ground, he just cracks.
You have to seriously think about bone density and early osteoporosis in some of these riders. And they do know, like yourself, they're starting to get them to do a lot more weight-bearing exercises and a lot of gym stuff to keep their bones strong as well. But some of the older athletes, like your Chris Froome's, like, he's seriously brittle, isn't he?
Yeah, and I don't think he's alone. You just have to look at guys like Bauke Mollema and like Rasmussen back in the day. They were just skeletons with, the occasional muscle You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
just,
You're like, how do they go fast? They don't even appear to have muscles.
they're like greyhounds, whippets. They're like whippets.
You mentioned Tour of Taiwan, Carter Bettles.
Yes.
He did beat the Aussie. He beat Israel Premier Tech there. So that's another good one for the Aussies.
Yeah, Carter's an awesome rider. Also underrated. Probably good enough to be in a world tour too. Can climb and sprint in a small group, and spent a couple of years in the ARA Skip Capital team, and saw him move on to a new team. Works for the rides for Rougeois Insurance. So he's been winning races the last 2 years in Asia, and it's not the level that Europe is, but they still get a lot of world tour teams, 2 or 3 or 4 teams go and race there. So, but yeah, Israel on the way up, and certainly, it's a fresh pair of eyes on that.
I know. Now, let's go in the jet and let's go from Spain, where Catalunya is. Let's go over to Italy because I want to talk about Milan San Remo. But before that, I want to talk about the Trofeo Alfredo Binda, which is the women's... It used to be a World Cup, now it's a World Tour race, but it's one of the oldest women's races on the calendar, 48 editions.
Jeez.
I know, it's such a great race. So it's raced down on the lake. It starts and finishes in a town called Chatilio, and which was just near where the Aussie base used to be in Varese. So for us, it was like a home race. And it's such a popular race because the organisers...
You've done it, haven't you?
I have. The one thing that's really different is they've never tried to run a men's race.
No.
So it's one of the biggest races on the women's calendar that has never looked at the men's racing.
Well, that's good they do that, because I think the women's cycling need their own identity and they need their own classics, because that what you've just said sums up how they move forward.
Yeah.
And yes, I know that men's cycling is larger and has been around a lot longer, but that's a start. That stuff.
It is. It's a really cool race. They used to it's early this year. It used to be raced over Easter, and I remember this so clearly, Henk. It was not look, it's got too many lumps and bumps for me to have been too good at it. But we used to have the team presentation the night before, and because it was Easter, we'd get these big Easter baskets with all this chocolate in it.
Did you eat them before or after the race?
Oh, I ate them before. I mean, you've got two kinds of people, right? The people who get an Easter basket and they eat it in one go, or you get the people who ration it over 6 months or 2 weeks.
You're not the certain one. You're not the certain
I'm not the
one.
rationer.
No, you're
my
not.
sister is.
I'm not. I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But I actually saw there was a fair bit of emotion after that race too, wasn't there, Kate?
Well,
after the finish, the young lady who won was in tears and had quite a lot of emotion, which is always good to see because you've got to have emotion in sport, right?
You do. So Alyssa Balsamo
and Easter eggs.
won. And Easter eggs. Alyssa Balsamo won. Now, she was world champion a couple of years ago when she was 20, one of the youngest to ever win. We're talking like Mariana Vos kind of territory with how talented she is. And she rides for Lidl Trek, and she said, this is like a dream. And don't wake me up. If this is a dream, don't wake me up. I want it to keep going. It's not only winning on home soil, because that's pretty special in Italy, but also she beat the world champion, Lotte Kopecky. Kind of nobody's beaten her this season, and she out-sprinted her in the kick.
Yeah, everyone's got 2 arms and 2 legs. That's what I say to the young guys and girls who are in the race, and they're all overwhelmed by it all. If you do enough of them, they've all just got 2 arms and 2 legs. So if you concentrate and just stay focused, that there's no reason why you can't beat that person. I used to have pictures of Phil Anderson on my wall as a young man, and then I end up racing with him in the Commonwealth Games, winning a gold medal with him. So, I love hearing that stuff.
You can't be too in awe of them, can you? Now, Interesting. Third was a young lady by the name of Puck Peters, a Dutch rider who's very well known in cyclocross. Really cool name. I actually think it's a really, really cool name, Puck Peters. And she slays it at cyclocross. But what was really interesting is she attacked and went solo early, got caught, got brought back, and still had enough to get third. And I don't know why, but I feel like she's going too far under the radar. Like people are almost on the women's side going, cyclocross, like that's a different discipline. On the men, they respect it a bit more. But
it's there incredible. Are a lot of people getting signed from cyclocross. if you're a good cyclocross coming up, 17 to 20 years old, you'll get signed because the amount of intensity. We had a cyclocross rider in
Max
here,
Hobson.
Maxie, who got signed after. Yes, it'd been around a while, but the intensity factor is just translates into road cycling. So you're completely right on that one, Kate, for sure.
The bike handling skills
And
help, right?
Yeah, 100%, Maxie.
Yeah. Well, oh gosh, there was already some images this week of some slipping and sliding on cobbles. I'm pretty excited for the cobbled classics to start in earnest, I must admit. But yeah, look, it was a really incredible race. But there was one kind of odd happening, and that was the gruppetto. The bunch essentially full of workers, like Brodie Chapman, the Aussie riding for Lidl Trek.
Yep.
She had busted her ass all day for her team and they won. But because they were toward the back of the race, they got sent the wrong way. And then instead of letting them finish, they just got DNF'd and pulled out of the race. And the UCI said, well, we were, you guys aren't really important. We were focusing on the ones getting the UCI points up the front. So,
well, you get UCI points to finish.
You do, but more than that, it's the respect, right? Like, how's that that the UCI have come out and said, and this is almost like an instant WTF UCI, have sort of come out and said, you're not important. So, it was just easier to DNF you than to let you finish, even though it was our mistake for sending you the wrong way.
Yeah, not cool.
I
mean, it's not. The thing is, it's not the UCI. It's actually the race organisers' fault because you've got to have the signage right. They've got to have the safety issue of people stopping traffic and everything else. And if you're getting sent the wrong way, that's the organiser. I wouldn't go. It was one of the times I'll back the UCI on this.
What?
Only once. It's the race organiser needs to get his arse into gear, pretty much.
To me, the question is, like, as a rider, when I busted my butt for someone...
Oh, yeah, I get what you mean.
It was important to finish. It was symbolic that even the organiser... that you are appreciated and seen and valued because it's the team sport that's not a team sport.
Yeah, the last thing you want is a procession of a boring bike race. You want it aggressive and you want to see it fast. And for that to happen, you need a lot of people to be working hard, and that's what happens. So,
well, we stand with you, Brodie Chapman. We think they should have let you finish.
Yep, 100%.
We'll be petitioning whoever we need to.
I literally lived in the gruppetto.
I spent a bit of time. I certainly bookended the field.
Yes.
I very rarely finished.
Me too.
In the middle. Let's stay in Italy and head down along the beautiful coast. We're going to cruise on in, take a few little lumps and bumps and head into San Remo, beautiful coastal town, more beautiful than the spectators, than the riders. But this one, last week we talked about like who were the favourites, Pogacar, kind of the big name in shining lights, but Aussies have had a good run there. This was a really interesting edition.
Oh, yeah. Amazing race. Start to finish, every edition of Milan San Remo always so fast. This one was the fastest ever, and you know what? I think just it's going to get faster year on year on year on year, just with the sports science, the aerodynamics, just how good the training is now, and how much of a level our cycling has gone, the athletes have gone to. And when you think it couldn't have got any faster than last year with Van der Poel going absolute balls to the wall up the Poggio. And it's the only race on earth, where you have to put your brakes on going around a corner uphill.
Yeah.
Otherwise you hit the wall. So it's the only race on earth where you literally have to brake going uphill.
The top of the Poggio is such a beautiful road to ride because... The wall is literally the side of the road. There is no gutter. It is side of road wall.
Yep.
So,
it's unbelievable, that race. I have never had the fortune to hold on to the front guys. I've done Milan San Remo 4 or 5 times, crashed a few times in the final, never made it in the front group. But it is to win there and to win up the hill, to do what Mohoric did on the descent and Pidcock did in the final there, with Pogacar trying to make it as hard and fast as possible, and still couldn't get away from the other 11 bike riders in that front group. I don't know what the time was at the suppressor, but I know they were going for 9 minutes. I think they got pretty close to that. and maybe went under that. But yeah, it is the Sprinters Classic though. That and Paris Tours, two of the kind. Paris Tours not a monument classic, but certainly is a French classic, and it's kind of nice to have I reckon a sprint in a monument, because it's always, you know, they're not just sprinters. They're guys who can get over the Suppressor, the Berta, the Poggio after 270 plus kilometres. It's always great to have that. Easiest to finish, hardest to win, they say.
Yeah. Oh, I never finished front group. I was second group, and I always wanted. That was a big goal for me. And then, you know, they canned the women's race. So say la vie.
They should bring that back, because there's such good sprinters.
It would just be magnificent, actually, because it is that combination. You're right, sprinters, but they've got to get over the climbs, which makes it pretty special. Let's talk about Michael Matthews. He finished second, best result he's had. Ripper. He's finished how many times in the top 10?
It was 3 times on the podium, I think 7 times in the top 10 from 2015.
Yeah. So he's
6 times,
so close.
I'm not, I mean, he's such a classy bike rider. World champion when he was younger. He wins the hard stages in the Tour de France. Galassi's had some big wins. He's had some big wins, but I'm not sure if he's got the killer instinct like someone like Van der Poel had, even to a point sometimes where, like Gero had that killer instinct in the final. He used to win a lot of bike races. He's always there. He's always strong. Matthews is always there, but I'm not sure. He's kind of not the super sprinter, but he can suffer and get over the hard climbs like Pog and Van Aert. But yeah, maybe not just that killer instinct.
Well, what about though? So it was won by Jasper Philipsen, and in big part because of the epic effort from Mathieu van der Poel, who went in as race favourite, but he wonderfully said at the end, I didn't have great legs, I couldn't get away, I couldn't. And Philipsen told me he had good legs. I trust him. I loved that, by the way. I loved that real show of camaraderie there where they can trust that if he says, no, I've got this, he's in service to him. So you've got the world champion leading out one of the world's best sprint.
Well, he is the fastest sprinter, so we probably shouldn't be too...
No, but if Matthews had a Van der Poel...
Yeah, Van der Poel held on to Pogacar.
Yeah, they don't grow on trees, do they? Van der Poels.
They do not grow on trees.
They do not grow on trees. And, I mean, who else is good enough in that team? Mejek is not really good enough to get over the climb with them. I mean, there's the 12 best bike riders in the world got over the Poggio. So, what a luxury.
A couple of them happen to be in one team.
What a luxury to have the world champion who also owns the team, I might add. He owns some part of the team. And I heard today that he signed a 10-year deal with Canyon. Yeah,
which is really savvy, right? Because that...
He could be done in 2.
But it kind of...
He won't be riding in 10 years.
Solidifies. No, I think he said 5 years riding, 5 years...
Ambassador.
Thanks, Merksy.
You've got an ambassador here.
You guys are ahead of me.
We're all over the ambassadorial stuff, Henk.
The ambassadorial.
Yes, indeed. Now, you mentioned before the camaraderie and all that sort of stuff. Can we just take a little moment to talk about... Oh, I sigh. I don't ever want to talk about him really, but here we are. Lance Armstrong and Pogacar, because I saw this beautiful show at Milan San Remo between teammates, but more than that, there was a beautiful show at the end from Pogacar expressing that he was the favourite, he knows how good he is, but he just loves racing. Merksy, have we got the sound of this?
Have a listen. This is him at the end of the race.
Really, really nice for cycling community also to have, competitors like this on podium and in the front racing against each other, because we show the world that you don't need to be enemy, you can be still friends and still go full gas, and you can make a really nice race respectful, and I was really enjoying today.
So that one word he just said, respectful.
Yes, well, though, there is a whole gap between enemy, respectful, and friends, right? They're not the same things.
No,
like respecting and friendship. But Pogacar seems to have quite a deep friendship with a lot of these riders.
That's because he's a top bloke.
Because he's a top bloke. Okay, all right. He is a top bloke, and I love it. Honestly, it makes the sport very digestible. It makes me want to show the kids. It's such good role modelling and such good sportsmanship, and really adds, I think, to the kind of wholesomeness of the sport. Merksy, have we got Lance Armstrong's? Because I just want to juxtapose these two little views.
Yeah, here he is.
It was way less friendlier in our generation. Like this generation now, like these guys go race each other, and some guy will lose. The guy who wins is waiting at the finish line. They're fucking hugging it out. I'm like, what? Wait, you just waiting there so you all can hug this out?
Yeah.
After you just lost? I think it's kind of cool to see, but it wasn't like that for us.
Right. Well, he also said that he respects them and he thinks they're pretty talented, but they don't compete like we did. Well, no, because I mean, I think that speaks for itself. No, they didn't do what you did, Lance Armstrong. But have they lost a bit of the mongrel? Like, are they too friendly?
No, they are not too friendly.
They're not too friendly.
You know, I don't think for a second that they would give any quarter at all in any time of the race. They're going to attack, and they're going to attack and attack, and they're going to be as devious as they can on the bike race. But they got respect for each other. Like, I think Pog and Vanderpool train together. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, Pogacar and Bling Matthews, they rode the car to the race together.
They drove the car to the race together.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
Right.
Well, I mean, they live in the same area, right?
Yeah.
So they just thought I'd save on fuel.
Yeah, because they're short of a
they're
dollar.
short on $1.
I mean, I guess there was somebody who said to me in my career, one of my teammates, who I'll preface by saying she was not very friendly. And I was quite taken aback by that when I first started racing with her because I was very young and I actually thought, have I done something wrong? Like, you know, and she said to me very clearly, Kate, you're very nice. I think you're a really lovely person, but I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to focus on the cycling and to win as many races
Was she a
as I can.
teammate or you're racing against this?
No, teammate.
Is that a German accent you're doing?
Teammate.
Not a German accent,
Azor.
no. It was a teammate, but it kind of opened my mind to the different personality types. So it's not even about the mongrel to win or something. It's just some people have to focus a bit more in one area. Other people can relax a bit more, like Pogacar. Do you think, I mean, has it changed? Because what was it like when you were racing?
It has. I think it has changed. And by the way, that person I don't think would have been a very good teammate if she was talking to you like that. Because
she wasn't. She was a very good bike rider.
But well, there you go. That totally sews that up 100%. Because if someone talks to you like that and you're a team, she's not really a team player, or he's not a team player. So him, they, there. What? Sorry, not going down that road. But in my era, yes, there was certain nationalities, who didn't like the French and the Dutchies didn't like the Belgies, and even to the point where the English kind of didn't really like the Aussies a bit. So they were, there's always been camaraderie, but I think it was, and there was less of our Anglos back in the day. But yeah, I think it was a little bit more aggressive, and I think it's for the better that it's changed, Kate. That these legends are having, and like I started with, and I'll finish with, it's just respect. I don't think Lance respected too many people except Jan Ulrich in his whole career. He didn't even respect his teammates. He just offloaded them when he'd had enough. So
yeah, well, and I mean, maybe that's a big part of his downfall, right? Is that he was just hated, and people wanted to see him brought down because they didn't like him as a person.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe it's just...
Yeah, I mean, him going after Simeone too was disgraceful. Simeone was over an hour down and he's trying to go up the road and Lance is in the yellow chasing him personally and sitting on his wheel. That's not respect. That's disrespect. And that's because he said something about Lance in the press and they just went after him in the race.
And respect makes it safer in the bunch, right? Like if you respect the guy sitting next to you, you're less likely to chop them or push them into a barrier or any of that kind of dirty riding that we've tried to get rid of.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, you still see dirty riding, especially in the lower levels. Like in the levels that the under-23s that we're going to be doing in Europe quite soon, there is a lot of disrespect and it's dog eat dog. They're not on the news. They don't have a podcast. They're just fighting for a contract. Absolutely doing everything they can to get in a contract. These guys are all financially very stable. They're all been around. They've won the Tour de France, so they can kind of live that lifestyle. They're all like, rolling a cigarette after. They're not rolling a cigarette up, but they're very, very comfortable where they're at. And they're all champions in their own right, but it's not in every level of cycling.
And they're very self-assured. They're not threatened, so it doesn't need to be as dog-eat-dog as well. Speaking of disrespect, Sonny Colbrelli, former Paris-Roubaix winner, he retired because of a heart issue.
Jeez, he was good.
Merksy, I'm not saying anything about Sagan, but it was a similar thing. Now, he had to chase thieves, Henk.
What a legend.
Because ahead of Milan San Remo, some local thieves, 10 youths, I believe, tried to steal all the team bikes. And as he tells it, and this is actually quite a funny visual, so just imagine this. Colbrelli wakes up to hear, our bikes. And he looks out the window and the bus driver, not the mechanic, the bus driver is outside by the bus in his underpants trying to stop some people from stealing the bikes. So Colbrelli goes out, jumps into action, chases them off into the woods. The police come. The bikes then go into their rooms to make sure nobody gets their hands on it. The hero saves the day.
What a legend.
What a legend.
Super Sonny.
Super Sonny.
Well, his heart must be all right.
Yeah.
He's chasing him in the woods. And was anyone hurt in the making of that story? Or?
Yeah, I don't believe so. Look, I think he's got a pacemaker, so he may have had a few moments afterwards with that exertion. But
this is not the first time this has happened. When I was racing back in the mid-90s, Jesus, sounds a long time ago, but the whole Benesto truck was stolen.
The truck?
The whole truck with all the time trial bikes.
Like
discs.
hot-wired or something?
No, they got into it and they stole the whole Benesto truck with Miguel Indurain's bikes in it, the whole thing. It was never recovered. And that changed in Spain and Portugal, that all the cars from then on in were back-ended on the trucks. So you would back the truck in, there would be a team car facing the back of the truck, perpendicular and the front. So even if somehow they managed to get into the truck where there's probably $1 million worth of bikes, or $500,000, there's 40 to 50 bikes in there at 15 grand. So they couldn't drive away with it, or they couldn't even open it, even if they got the locks. So that became a thing. So anyway, maybe old Sonny's team might need to start doing that.
Yeah.
I do that with the team now if I'm in a dodgy place.
Yeah. Oh, I think if you're anywhere, it's just so valuable these days, right? Well, we love that. Go Super Sonny. I want to go. We're getting on the jet a lot today. Frequent flyers. What are we, Taylor Swift or something? Let's head over to Philadelphia.
Oh,
Philly.
one of my
I love
favourite
Philly,
cities.
and not just because of the cheesesteaks, but they're pretty good too. But there used to be a race in Philadelphia called, the Philly Classic, the Unity Classic. It had a heap of different
Core
names.
states. Yep.
You won it,
I did.
Henk.
I did.
What was
win
it
that.
called the year you won it?
The first Union Cycle Classic, or it was the bank. So it's a couple of $1 million to run this race. So obviously they needed some coins, so they went to the First Union Bank and they gave us, not us, wish they did, they gave the organisers some money to run it, and you essentially shut down the whole city along the Potomac, and you ride up this very famous hill called the Manioc Wall, which used to be a drug den, used to be where you went and scored all the drugs. The race changed that whole area in Philadelphia. It's now like a chic place to go and buy homewares and have coffee and restaurants and everything else like that. So it is that race is incredible. It's not just a one-day bike race. It's been going for, it went away for a few years. They're looking to get back, but it was 6 hours live on NBC. Back in the day,
so cool.
It was hundreds of thousands of people there.
The Rocky Balboa statue is just near the finish
yes,
line.
Yes, the stairs that he runs up at the end, and the music, the very famous Rocky music is right there. So I can't remember Benjamin Franklin Parkway, which
I just know it was about
and
just past the finish line.
Do you know the fountains? If you've ever seen Married with Children, there's a fountain at the start and the finish. That is the fountain.
I didn't know
for
that.
Married and Children. So
Well, there you go. Well, it started in 1985, and the first winner was Eric Heiden, and he won an Olympic gold medal speed
and a
skating.
Tour de France.
Yes, and so
stage.
went on to have this incredible cycling career. We haven't had it since 2016, I think, was the last time it got raced. It's just such a cool race.
It is.
I didn't get a photo of me running up the stairs, but I did it. And the funny thing is, when I ran up the stairs and, did a little dance around the statue, my legs were so full of lactic acid that I nearly fell down.
I
didn't feel
you
rocky
weren't
at all.
punching the air after that.
I was not, but no, it's like a rite of passage for young cyclists. And yeah, I hope to see it come back. It's interesting. They want to bring it back. The guy that's talking about bringing it back, he's not involved in elite cycling. But
he used to be a cyclist.
Yeah, he used to be a cyclist, but he works in Philly City, and he said it was so good, like just what you've described. It was so good for the area. We need to bring that back. So it's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean the economic exposure that it brings, like between $15 and $20 million for the weekend, and any place in any would want a national championship, because it used to be the national championships. I mean, I won it when foreigners could do it. They moved it to Charlotte, North Carolina, I think, the national after that.
Yep.
But yeah, when you've got the best teams in the world, Mapai racing there, and Lance and everyone else, all the Europeans and all the biggest American teams, it brings the whole sport up when you've got 6 hours live on NBC.
Bring back Philly.
Bring back Philly, 100%.
Bring back Philly.
It's still one of my absolute favourite wins of my whole career, to tell you the truth. Winning there in front of a couple 100,000 people is magic.
Oh, that's a goosebump moment. We're going to wrap up today farewelling Laura Kenny. Because talking about goosebump moments, she has had the most incredible career. She's just announced her retirement. Henk, she's the most successful female British Olympian, and she's got 5 Olympic gold medals and a silver medal across 3 different events. She's married to Jason Kenny, who's now the head sprint coach. He's got 7 Olympic gold medals. Oh, God. They're the most incredible power couple.
They own a smeltering factory.
I know,
they
should. She had a baby back in 2017 and did come back for Tokyo, has tried to give it another run, and her body has just given up.
That's enough.
And she's acknowledged that. But I just wanted to say the sport will miss her, because she has done incredible things for the sport. She was one of the big names that had a lot of success around the London Olympics and changed the face of British sport and British funding because, and for women as well, because of the role modelling. So just incredible to have her. You might notice in front of me, Henk, before we do go, I've got these really cool things called bikie wipes. And
I've got some.
These are the coolest thing. I used to clean my bike with baby wipes. Is that what everybody did?
If you don't live in
What
a
else
house
do you
that you
have
can
in
go
your
and
car?
really wash your bike out with like a bucket and a hose, they're the best thing.
No, these are so cool. So I've got some rotor wipes, which I desperately need to use on my mountain bike because it squeaks.
They're screaming, yep.
And I still have rim brakes on my road bike. So they're mountain bike for me. And degreaser wipes, which is fantastic. But I haven't yet tried them on me. I've tried them on the bike, but normally I'm the one that ends up with the grease all over me.
You put them on your calf, you get them on,
Yeah.
The old
Hubbard
the Hubbard mark from the 52 chain
Do
ring.
they work on your skin?
They do. And they actually don't rip. You can use it on your chain, and you could really clean it on your chain. Like a baby wipe would just cut in half, but they don't. So they work really well.
Well, what I love about these, because there's also a third one that's just a general wipe, is so often we're talking, and I've got these fancy tyres that we're giving away, by the way. Remember to jump on the link in the bio and you can go into the giveaway to win these bad boys, limited edition. But we always talk about really high tech, and we have the fancy Colnagos and everything. These are essentially really fancy compostable bike-specific baby wipes.
Yep.
They're unreal.
Yeah,
Get yourself some of those.
Good for the environment.
They are very good for the environment. So
where do we get them?
You can go to BikeBug, and if you use the code Wheelhouse, you get 10% off. Load up. They are flying out the door. and I've already got 3
I'm
packets for myself.
I've got those 3 at home, and I'm nearly finished with the frame wipes.
Oh, you better
So,
get some more.
With the amount of rain we've had up here and it's in the coast, on the coast, they've been getting a workout. That's for sure.
They have Merksy.
No, that was very good from Henk there. Where do we get them? Like, it was perfect synergy.
Yeah, thank you, Henk.
Back and
Well
forth.
done.
Good banter.
We'll write
Very natural.
we'll write you a commission check
Yeah,
later
and-
for that one.
And they're Australian, right?
They are.
That's
That's so cool.
It is so
Aussie
cool.
company.
I'm so enamored with these. Sometimes it's the simple things, right? You can look at the big things, but I just love these simple solutions. Henk, good luck in Europe.
Thank you.
What's on the race program? What's coming up?
Oh gosh, straight into Italy for 2 one-day races. Back on the plane. Except
Yeah,
I'm,
back on the-
except
back on
I'm
the jet.
driving to them, Kate,
Oh.
in the team car,
Right.
and then some races in the Ardennes for 5 days, and then into Bretagne in France for a week, and then a tour in Greece,
Well, so where's headquarters? Where do you fly
Girona.
into?
Yeah, I fly into Brussels, and it's where all the bikes are. I'm actually dropping them off this afternoon. The spare bikes are getting sent to Europe. So yeah, we're doing a lot of racing in Holland, Belgium, France, Italy, Spain. So for the next 5 months. So I won't be back in here for a little while, but
You're
I will be
breaking
coming
our
back.
heart.
I got a couple of trips. So
Are you
going
going
away
to dial
6.
in for us? Are we going to get
I'll-
like foreign correspondent?
Try it. We'll see how that works. I'll see if I can put some green screen. How do you do that nice screen behind you?
Merksy?
Merksy.
Yeah,
Can
we'll
you
sort
help?
you out.
Yeah.
Mate, just keep those factor bikes safe. Park that van against the wall.
Yes.
Yes.
I had lose sleep about that actually.
Yeah.
Losing
Well, you
bike.
wouldn't want Henk chasing you in the middle of the night.
No,
Especially in his
well,
underpants.
yeah. Yeah.
Not in the underpants.
There's a visual everybody needs. Hank
No,
chasing people into the woods in his underpants.
God.
Like, share, follow, subscribe, tell your friends. Come and see us at the Brisbane Cycling Festival on the 12th, 13th and 14th of April. If you're here, you'll have to dial in, Hank.
Yes.
Have to dial in for that one.
Yep.
Yep. All right.
100%. All right,
Well,
guys.
see you soon.
Bye.